Okay, next would be Chapter 16. Now, the basis of Chapter 16 was about reforms. There was many reforms going on at this time. Religious reforms, women's rights reforms, reforms for better care of the mentally ill. What happened was there was a second Great Awakening, and people were worried that the government was becoming such a big deal that it was becoming above God. So they kind of spread around the idea that someone could achieve a perfect being, so why not try to be perfect? Another reform would have been part of the religious reforms was the coming of the Mormons. Joseph Smith founded the Mormon religion in 1830 in New York, and they were heavily persecuted, so they had to move to Utah, where they could do their preachings. And people don't like them because they viewed their preachings and teachings as unorthodox. Another reform was the temperance reform, which was a limit and a ban on alcohol. The average person would have 10 gallons of like hard cider or 30 gallons of beer and wine. This was successful before the Civil War, but not so much afterwards. Many people signed a petition saying they were never going to drink again. This was more popular with the women because it showed self-control, and a lot of times husband would get his check, go blow his check at the bar, and he'd come home and take it out on the kids and the wife. Another one was for better care of the mentally ill. Dorothea Dix, she worked extremely hard to get better care for mentally ill because they were originally treated like criminals. They weren't treated correctly, and so she fought to get asylums and hospitals where they could be taken care of. Another one would be public education, free education for everyone. It was kind of a place to put the kids, and they believed that education was essential for democratic participation. The Seneca Falls petition was for the women's right movement, and it was the birth of the women's right movement. And the Seneca Falls is written like the Declaration of Independence to kind of show how women are equal to everyone else. So a group of women challenged the cultural and legal restrictions on women. Another big one is, of course, slavery. Now, slavery, the slave trade was outlawed in 1808, and anti-slavery movements led by people like Frederick Douglass and Elijah Lovejoy were big in this whole reform for slavery. Now, people knew slavery was bad, but it was what was making their money, and this is the way they grew up with slavery, so they really didn't think there was anything wrong with it. However, the people in the North thought otherwise, and they thought that slavery should be abolished, and people had to run away, even as far as Canada, after they made it a law that you could go back and get your slave if you found them.